So I'll open up for questions. Any questions that you have for the graduates?
From a design standpoint, I know like people kind of copying your ideas and stuff. And how does have you ever encountered like a hostile confrontation, and how did you guys deal with that?
I've never encountered anything hostile. Designs, nothing is really original, and if you can take something that somebody else did and make it better, that's only going to help your client. And the designer that I currently work with, we do it to each other all the time. I'll see something that he's doing, but I'll just, take my background and what I know, spin it a different way, and that's what we end up going with. And he does that to my stuff, and I actually enjoy that. I'll just get something started, pour everything into it, get it kind of churning, and then he'll take it and make it awesome. So for me, it's actually a really cool way to work. So
I've had something happen, it's kind of related, is I was applying for a job and they kept having me do stuff for them to prove that I guess I had the skills. So they ended up not hiring me and then taking the work I had done and hired someone cheaper. So you kind of need to be careful of that when you're applying for jobs, so that they should be able to look at your portfolio and know what you can do, or maybe give you a skills assessment test during the interview. That's what I had to do at San Jose State, with a skills assessment test that involved design and CSS and HTML. But don't do a bunch of free work for an interview process, because they might not hire you and use it. And I just dropped it because to me it wasn't that big of a deal. The site didn't look very good anyways. So, but that's just my advice.
And if you go across the hall to see the outside of my office, there's a dragon that's designed by Charlotte.
Yeah.
And she makes sure that her name and her copyright is there.
Yeah, I drew that. Yeah, thank you.
Other questions, comments?
Yeah, I know you guys talked about communication issues in the workplace, and I know you touched on one, pulling up your job description saying oh hey, I'm not supposed to do this. Do you guys have any examples of just red flags? You see people come in their first couple weeks and you're just no, they don't communicate effectively. Or conversely, you see someone come in and you're oh wow, they did this and that. That shows me that they're going to be pretty good. Do you guys have any examples for either of those cases?
Yeah, I can tell you that, especially with new graduates, the hardest part is when they get afraid and they don't communicate that the project's behind. Nothing will get a manager more upset than to find out the deadlines that we set for you are not going to be met, and to find out 2 days after the deadline passed, which happens a lot. So no one expects it to be perfect. Communicate failures as well as successes. Because if you can communicate that you're behind, the program manager or the project manager can adjust timelines. But if you don't communicate, there's going to be a huge meeting for you to finish something. And nothing gets you fired faster than that. So that's one of the biggest red flags.
That is very important. People sometimes when they are behind, they kind of try to hide it. That's a very good advice.
Because even if you don't meet the deadline and nobody's gonna yell at you or anything like that, just don't have to be afraid. Just tell the manager.
And the basics of project management is that the deadline is what you communicated last. So if your deadline is next week and you told me 2 weeks ago that it wasn't going to be next week, then your deadline is whatever you communicated last. So project management isn't a fixed state. It adjusts according to what you're able to deliver. But the release dates for any project are set in stone. If I'm told it's going to be done in March and it's not done in March, we spend marketing time, we spend a lot of publishing time to get everything ready. You impacted the whole company now. Whereas if you just told them 3 months ago that it was going to be pushed to May, everyone adjusted and we're good to go. So.
When people are setting up a project schedule, they don't know. You're guesstimating how much time and materials and labor it takes to do things. So that doesn't mean that that's when you have to have gotten it done. That was just a guess. And as you get into it, every project manager is ready to assign more resources as needed. You just have to let them know what's needed.
the things that's super valuable is communication, whether it's good or bad. I mean, they want to know the truth. I found that over the 11 years that being honest and them saying this is what they want, I always ask a couple questions before. Well, what do you want it for? What are you going to do with it? Some of the times they're not really clear about what they want. They'll tell you what they want, but it's not really what they want the outcome to be. They'll tell you, I want this. And then you deliver this, and they're like, but no, I want it to be this way. And so you go through and you change, and you're continually modifying. So after all the time of doing it, I'm finally like, what do you want the outcome to be? What do you really want is the deliverable? Do you want a web page? Do you want, we do a lot of internal communications. I mean, we have 60 departments we deal with. So part of it is also getting along with everybody and asking. Because someone will tell you, you'll walk in. When I walked into my facility 11 years ago, I heard different department people were difficult. And I just kind of decided to walk in and give everybody the benefit of the doubt, that I liked everybody, that I was going to be friendly. I've had no problems with any of the ones that I heard were difficult. The other people, they tell me they're difficult, but to me they're not, because I just ask them, what do you want? And then I tell them honestly, I can't deliver that on the date you need it by, or I need to spend this much more to give you what you're looking for. I've just found being really honest has been my saving grace all through.
And there's also going to be people that you can't work with, or that you feel you can't work with. You're going to have to find ways to work with them. And there's going to be people that may not like you for whatever reason, but you have to put aside the personal feelings and work with them. You have to find ways to communicate. Everybody communicates in a different style, whether it's through email, whether it's through going and meeting with the person, or through chat. You have to find what works with you and that person. Work on individual relationships and find out what it works to make the team work.
My experience is that some brilliant people just out of graduate school or college come to work for the company, the ink on the hiring paper is not even dry yet. You come in and say, our product, your product sucks. And I have a better idea. I want to change your company. Wait, it's 2 weeks. And if you haven't really know what's going on in the company or organization, you come in and want to change it, then I start to put a question mark on that person's kind of maturity or professionalism.
One thing about communication you need to all remember now, just as you're doing with school, is every email you send lives forever. So I would think really carefully about what you put in it, and no matter how mad you are, sit on it overnight. Type what you want to say what you want to say, save it, don't send it, don't put anything in it, don't give it any opportunity, because sometimes you come back later to regret things you say in anger, out of hostility, or out of frustration. But you know, if you're not comfortable with everyone on the planet that works with you or around you reading it, don't send it.
So I'll put a plug in for Semantic. We have a product called Enterprise Vault. And Enterprise Vault is specifically to save emails for legal action.
How long do you save it?
You don't ever get rid of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you don't ever get rid of it. Every single email that is sent through our Exchange server goes directly to it. So if I called someone a name 10 years ago, and that person comes up and says, this guy created a hostile work environment, they will go back 10 years using that product and document it on. So everything that you send an email is considered a legal document. So for any of you that work with, it's very nice with social media today to say what's on your mind. Never say what's on your mind at work in email. And by the way, we have social media in work as well. And that is also vaulted. So, and we luckily have a message every time you open up an IM window that says, be aware, we're recording what you're saying. So.
Maybe coming back to the tweet, that question will be interesting, kind of follow what we talked about. Any good or maybe a horrible story about competition in your company that you can give advice to our students? Anyone?
I have one. When we did a redesign of the NPS website maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and we were moving into a content management system. So when we were doing the redesign, they said, okay, who wants to design it? And we didn't have somebody like Christina back then, so it was myself and another programmer. And so we both came up with designs. It was like a competition. And they chose mine, and it really upset my coworker. But then what ended up happening is we took elements of his design and put it in ours. So when
there's competition, find ways to kind of intertwine and work together on it instead of working against each other.
And that's a great comment. It's about collaboration. Don't ever see it as competition.
Yeah.
You're all working together for one important reason, to keep the company alive so that you get paid. I mean, it really comes down to that, whether it's your own business or you're working as a 20,000 person company. So, yeah, don't see it as competition, it's all collaboration. There will be times when someone wants what you have, whether your job or your design or your code. Just work with them. Because ultimately the company owns it all.
So we'll take another question from the audience, especially the freshmen. Go.
I have a two-part question. The first one is
Let me raise your voice so people in the back can hear you.
I have a two-part question. The first is, do each of you have a master's degree? And the second part of it is, would you recommend a master's degree in what you studied in undergraduate, or in something else, such as business administration?
I don't have a master's degree. And where I'm at, there's no benefit to getting it right now. I see no reason financially or material. Eventually, I'd like to get one, but for me,
I don't, and actually working at the Naval Postgraduate School, they would pay for me to get our master's at the Naval Postgraduate School. And you can go and stuff while you're working, as long as you make up the hours. I choose not to because I have 2 small children and don't have the time right now. But there are others that are going to. I find I don't need it. So
I'm in the same exact boat. I don't have one. I would, but I have 2 small boys, and just right now with the time, I wouldn't be able to.
I don't have one either. And San Jose State said it'll pay for up to 3 units of state time for you to go get your master's degree through their school. So I'm thinking about doing that, but I would get it in something different that would benefit you, like, you know, business, or like say if you get an undergraduate degree in CD, but you want to do marketing, get it in advertising or something like that. So, you know, you learn the other side. You don't just know the design skills, you know how to apply those design skills to an advertising campaign or something like that.
I don't have a master's as well. I have a second. But I'm open to it. You might get one later on. I think it would be more easier if you continue from the bachelor's right after maybe the master, move forward to master. Information technology ahead, I think it's easier. But yeah, there's still the opportunity.
So I got both my bachelor's and master's here, but I had already had like a 20-year career in semiconductors before that. So I had a lot of work experience already. What I would suggest a little different than that is, first off, I found that getting a master's degree opened up a lot more opportunities and probably raised the ceiling on earning potential. I would recommend that you get your bachelor's, you go out and get work experience, and you start climbing up, start getting some real jobs. Then figure out what you want to get your master's degree in, and I would recommend that it is in something more like business, or not just the narrow thread that you've been following. And get it after you've had some real work experience. It'll mean a lot more to you, and you'll probably be able to leverage it for higher pay better later.
I would agree with Charlotte. I would agree with Charlotte and Chris. Definitely don't get a degree in what you're doing unless you actually want to only focus on that. Business is great. I got my first master's here was MSMIT, which was both technology and business, and that really helped my career grow quite a bit. And I also agree with Chris that don't do it immediately. I'd already been in business for a long time, so I just went from the bachelor's to the master's, but there's a lot of context that you don't have until you've been in business for a while, so the master's won't be as valuable to you.
I actually have a couple friends that did that right away, and they're having a hard time. And having to pull the masters off their things as they're applying because they're too educated for the entry areas they're trying to get in without the experience they have. So what I suggested to both of them was pull your masters off while you're applying, then let them know you have it after, because part of it does is it pushes you out of the area and it pushes you into a higher pay scale, which you're going to want, but the harder part is you're not going to get your foot in the door in some of the places you want into. So to me, I would do the MS, MIT, I would do the MBA and the IT if I was going back and doing it. But I have no reason, but for someone like you coming through, you're going to need some years of experience to actually show you know what you know. Not just on paper, but actually to be able to walk in and deliver.
And that's a pragmatist thing. That's a great point. You have a master's, you're not competing with people who also have masters in business. And if you don't have that experience, they're going to eat you alive. I mean, they really will. And they'll do it gladly because then it just moves them higher up. So if you're planning a master's degree, definitely get some experience under your belt before you do.
My turn. I didn't get to answer. I went to a JC right out of high school for 2 years, and then I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I took kind of a break, got work experience, bachelor's and master's. I was working full time. So right after the bachelor's, I went right into the master's program. As far as salary goes, I can tell you that I was making really good money with the bachelor's, and my salary increased 60% with the master's. So the job that I have now at MPS required a master's degree. And I went in there extremely confident. My interview was maybe 20 minutes, and it was me telling them how I could make MPS better. And they were pretty sold. So, you know, you can't be in this little shell thinking, oh, am I going to get it? Like, you have to go into every interview, like, completely convinced that you are what this person or what this company needs, and that you're going to take them to the next level. Because there are things, you know, like I've said before, I didn't necessarily know how to do, but I learned it. And my master's is not the same as my bachelor's, but they commingle together because I use a lot of design from my bachelor's in instructional design. But I learned a lot about theory and psychology and how people think, and so that helps me when I do a web design project, because now I'm already kind of thinking about what my client needs before it's coming out of their mouth, so I can kind of plan ahead of what they want. So you have to understand what direction you want to go to, and then figure out what master's programs are out there in that umbrella, and pick the one that's going to lead you down the ultimate path for what you want your career to be. Because, you know, I have a lot of friends who have history degrees, and they're like, you know, working at Starbucks now because they can't either find a teaching job or it doesn't pay enough. So, you know, your degree is going to help you, but it's not the fail-safe.
You know, my daughter, she's 13 years old. She so far decided to major in history. Got me very worried. Okay, so let's take a question from the tweet. That's kind of an interesting question. What percentage of what you create at work ends up in your personal portfolio? That's probably for the designer. How does your work product interact with your personal portfolio?
Well, for me, I was an in-house designer for 7 years, so when I got this job, my entire portfolio was in-house.
And the previous company is okay?
Yeah.
Like that?
Yeah.
They let you use everything you did, right?
Well, yeah, they haven't said anything.
I would say Schumacher wouldn't come back and say anything, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't ask.
Okay, that's good. So the very interesting question, pretty quick. We don't have a good statistic, but from the classmate you have in the design, the job market could be challenging. So I know maybe some students doing freelancer. From your kind of estimate, what's the percentage of our graduate in design, for example, is doing primarily a freelancer job versus a full-time job? Do you have a kind of a...
The designers I know are working for companies or started their own companies that aren't just freelancing.
I still do both.
Yeah, I know most of the designers could get additional projects. So we don't have a statistic for that.
I think jobs are rare enough right now that you have to consider freelance. I mean, it's these little part-time things that are going to be your foot in the door to get a job. one other thing that people talk about was networking. I cannot stress enough the importance of networking while you're in school. People don't get jobs by applying for jobs. I mean, you're one in a stack like that. The only one that gets the job is the one where the other manager comes over and says, you know, this guy here, check this one out. So it's who you know, and also back to not knowing the skills or not being fresh in the skills. It's all your network that's part of your value. And when someone asks you to do something, you say, yeah, I can do it. Because I have, because I know who I can call in to do that, and that network is valuable. That's part of your job tools. So develop that.
And staying current on your learning also.
Let's move on to the next question. Sam?
Kind of slightly backtracking a little bit. Keeping up with skills. I believe you mentioned checking various websites, 30 minutes.
That was interesting.
Yeah, have you seen it? Sorry. Yeah. Someone said. What website would each of you recommend if you do that? Like just one primary website or something?
I'd recommend smashingmagazine.com. Smashingmagazine.com.
I read TechCrunch.
I actually follow a few web designers and developers on Twitter. So I follow one of the guys who helped build the standards for HTML5 and CSS3. His name's Spark Bates. So I follow him and he posts new stuff all the time. So that's how I keep up to date.
One of my coworkers actually just recommended yesterday is CSS Line. I guess it's just continually updated with just interesting and innovative websites if you're looking for inspiration.
I think it also depends on what industry you're in. I mean, I love Mashable, and it comes through with all these different types of things, but I subscribe to a lot of emails, and as they pop through my inbox, I look at something that draws my eyes, I spend time, I read it. If it's really good, I'll go watch their video, and I'll do different things. For me, I do Reagan Communications because I'm in a marketing department. But I want to hear about different things that are going through with that. But you find things that apply to where you're at and what you're doing, your career, your opportunity. For me, I go through lots of hospital websites. I'm at a healthcare system. I want to see the other ones, and I can tell you when they're launching and what they look like and what they should change.
Last round of questions.
I'm just curious if any of you did a minor while you were here, and if so, what it was, and did it help you at all?
Minor wasn't popular at that time.
We're all old.
I never did a minor, but I did 3 of the tracks, though. I did the web, instructional design, and I did multimedia. So I really didn't need a minor. I was taking classes in each of the pieces because I really wanted the depth of the different pieces.
I studied administration of justice for 2 years, if you want to count that. And I was really, it's a lot easier for me to read people. And so, you know, it's good to take classes like electives that aren't necessarily within your field of study, but something that you might be interested in that you think can relate.
Okay, so, question over there?
Just kind of isn't it like primarily like the design aspect of of the people that are here are women? Like, does that reflect how it is in the workplace? What is it like?
Actually, for me, at least from what I've seen, it's pretty even. There's men and women, at least where I work, where they're designers or design related.
For me, my first job, there were 2 male designers and me. Second job, they were all female, and on my current job, it's me and the guy. So it's nice to have a mix. I prefer mixed environments. So.
Where I'm at, we don't have our graphic designer's female, then there's me, but I'll tell you, some of the most talented ones coming through our program were some of the guys in it. So I don't think that's necessarily the truth.
How about Symantec? Is all a guy? No.
Most technology, I've seen maybe two women who were in technology.
Now that might even be the better question. How many women are in technology? Because there are many in the tech side.
Technology, go ahead and take it all out. It's very rare to see women in technology. Even in design, though, it's pretty mixed. So if you're good, they'll hire you. If you're not, they don't care about you.
It's
Okay, so to piggyback off of that question and to something that you said, I not only am I doing pretty much designing for video games, which not a lot of women do, but I also have programming language experience behind me as well because I'm doing. I basically just took those classes just to have a fallback in case. So, is there ever an advantage to being a woman?
I can tell you that because right now where I'm at, I'm in News and Public Affairs, but I help our IT department. They love me because they'll tell me you can't do it, and I tell them exactly how to do it because I've gone through all our technical classes here and all of our different pieces. They say you can't do it, and I'm like, okay, let me tell you how I would do it if I was in it. So that I don't have too much, but you actually have the opportunity to do that. And at times, I think they're more surprised that a woman understands it or knows it. That you talk the talk that they know or they do it, but you just got to be smarter than them. You just have to be when you're dealing with them and doing that.
At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't.
It really doesn't. The smartest technology person was a woman. And it had nothing to do with the fact that she was a woman. She just was extremely intelligent.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of the business. Women are attracted to the technology side for whatever reason that is. And so we tend to see less of women in the business. But it doesn't make a difference whether or not it's how good you are.
Hazel, my team, I told you guys I'm on a team, 3-person team. My other 2 coworkers are male. And I have no issues working with them, and they've got no issues working with me. So, it's fine. There's really nothing to worry about. It's totally fine.
Technology for one field is very, very tiresome. You're good, you're good. You have XY chromosome or XX or something, other combinations. It doesn't
really matter.
Okay, so since I promised you guys only to 1:30, last few words from the panel. Any kind of one thing you want the current student to know before you see them 10 years from now?
Find a job you like. You gotta go. You're gonna be there a lot of times. You want to work with people you like. Find a job you like. It isn't just about the money. I saw a lot of my friends leave and chase money, and they've all been in all these different places. I found a place I like, and I like the people I work with. I'm still there 11 years later. A lot of my college friends have been in a lot of different places. You gotta find what's gonna make you. It isn't just about the career, but it's about the people, the things you learn, and the opportunities.
And if you can find a job just that supports you as a person. Like where I'm at, they're very flexible regarding families. I have 2 small kids, that's huge for me. And it's just everyone is friendly. It's just an environment that I like. I could probably make a ton more if I went to San Francisco or, to one of the bigger markets, but, I want to be able to spend time with my boys, and it happens to be personally an environment that I feel good and I enjoy going to work every day. That's huge.
Yeah, exactly. The feedback on what everyone's saying is you want to work with people who, really do care about you, and they realize that you are a person that has an outside life. Your job is not your life. Maybe for some of you that's what you want, but for most of us, I don't think that's what we want. And if you have a team that you're working with that understands that and respects that, and you in turn respect them, then it's a great working environment. Because you're going to be spending at least 40 hours a week with these people. You might have to commute. I commute every day on the bus to San Jose State for an hour each way. So, you're spending a lot of your time with these people. And you just want to be respected, and then you treat people with respect because they are people. They're not just robots. At least yet. So.
There you have given a meeting?
Oh, no. I had a family to feed, so I think my job to pay the most.
Jerry is he's one of the brave alumni. He actually introduced his wife to come and finish our degree 3 years after you finish.
Yes.
That's a vote of confidence.
No, I love the program, and she can get a job whenever she wants one off the degree. So. And not just because I know it.
Also start today. Contact us, and even if we don't have an internship available for you, have your resume, send it to us, and we'll keep it. And maybe when one opens up, we'll call you and say, hey, You want to come in and interview, so start today.
I actually came through into Christina's web class, and the one person who did the project for our medical museum that I loved ended up dropping out. I would have hired him. He did something amazing. We came into the class. He came through and he did a fabulous medical history museum piece for us. And I would have paid him on the spot, wrote him a PO, and hired him to come in and do it, but he wasn't around.
If anyone knows how to program iPads or ASPIs, I'll give you some money right now. So
We will have some computer science student do that.